There is a moment in every soul's journey when the desperate search for love collapses under its own weight, and it is in that silence, when the noise of longing dies, that something profound begins to whisper from the depths of the unconscious. You were never unloved. You were just unfamiliar to yourself. We chase love, we ache for it, we beg for it in 1,000 quiet ways, through achievement, beauty, validation, and sacrifice. But what we do not realize is that our longing is not truly for someone else. It is for reunion with the parts of our soul we have cast away. There is a secret most people carry to the grave. The person they fall in love with is never the other. It is always themselves, hidden beneath the veil of another's eyes. We think we fall in love with someone's laugh, someone's walk, the way they say our name or hold our hand. But these are just surface echoes. What we are truly intoxicated by is the sudden, mysterious recognition of something that already exists deep within us. Love, in its truest psychological form, is not an external phenomenon. It is an inward eruption, a psychic realization. It's the soul catching a glimpse of itself in a form it can finally see. The beloved is a mirror. Not always clean, sometimes cracked, sometimes distorted, but a mirror nonetheless, and this mirror reflects more than beauty or admiration. It reflects both the light and the shadow. It reflects what we have cultivated and what we have denied. The attraction, the spark, the ache, it all emerges from the ancient longing of the psyche to see itself whole. In that person, in that gaze, in that connection, we meet what we have long forgotten. This is why love can feel so overwhelming. Because it's not just about them, it's about you. It's about the inner child who never felt safe. It's about the artist you buried to become more acceptable. It's about the dreams you left behind because they made you too vulnerable to chase. And then, someone arrives, and something in them unlocks that vault. Their presence becomes the language through which your unconscious starts to speak. And this is where most people get lost. They mistake the mirror for the source. They believe the other person holds the magic. They believe the love is about the other. But the moment that illusion is threatened, when the person changes, withdraws, disappoints, the reflection vanishes, and they are left chasing a ghost they never truly knew, because what they really loved was the version of themselves that came alive in the reflection. Do you see how profound and dangerous that is? You can become addicted to your own light, reflected in someone else's eyes. You can become enslaved by your own beauty, shown to you through another's affection. And if you are not conscious of this, you will spend your life in cycles, falling in love, losing it, grieving, repeating, always searching for something outside that was always within. This mirror effect does not discriminate. It happens in romance, in friendship, in admiration, even in conflict. We are always looking for ourselves in the other, always scanning for familiarity in unfamiliar forms, because the psyche, by its very nature, is incomplete. And it longs for reunion, but this reunion is not romantic. It is archetypal. It is a return to something sacred and ancient, the lost self. And that is the great paradox of love. We think it's about union with another, but it is really the soul's attempt to become whole again. Love, when unconscious, becomes obsession, projection, dependency, but love, when awakened, becomes revelation, a mirror held not to flatter, but to illuminate, and when that mirror appears, it shows you everything, your capacity to create, to heal, to feel joy, but also your fear, your shame, your envy, your unmet wounds. And in that overwhelming clarity, you are given a choice to see or to retreat, because to truly see yourself through love is to accept your vastness, to witness that you are not just good or bad, light or dark, but all of it, a totality, a constellation of contradictions. And in that awareness, there is a mysterious intelligence within you, older than thought, older than language, a realm beneath your awareness that quietly governs the directions of your life. You do not see it, but it sees you. You do not name it, but it speaks through symbols, urges, dreams, and inexplicable attractions. This is the unconscious, not a dark corner to be feared, but a vast, sacred territory, the very soil from which your desires grow. And what you must come to understand is this: the unconscious does not desire pleasure, it desires wholeness. It is not concerned with comfort or logic, it is concerned with completion. It is as if, before you were born, your soul shattered into many fragments, and now, through every experience, every encounter, every relationship, it attempts to find those pieces again, to call them home. So you are drawn to people who carry your missing parts. You're pulled, not by compatibility or rational alignment, but by a silent resonance, an invisible thread between your unconscious and theirs, a familiarity that logic cannot explain, a gravitational force that doesn't care about appearances or timing or even safety. It only cares about reunion. This is why love often feels like fate, because in a way it is. You meet someone, and without knowing why, they feel significant. Not necessarily safe, not necessarily good for you, but important. Their presence stirs something dormant in you, a longing, a memory, a forgotten rhythm. You may think, I've known them forever, but what you're really sensing is yourself. The parts of you they awaken were always there, just buried, quiet, unlived, and now, through them, your unconscious whispers, look, do you see it now? This is what you lost. This is what you need to integrate. This is why relationships are rarely accidental. They are psychic encounters, orchestrated not by chance, but by need, a need not of the ego, but of the soul. The unconscious seeks what it lacks, not to consume it, but to become it. You may be a soft soul drawn to someone sharp and wild. You may be grounded, yet magnetized by chaos. You may be wounded and find yourself endlessly drawn to the same kind of pain, disguised as love. And it isn't because you're broken. It isn't because you're foolish. It is because the unconscious is trying to heal itself through exposure. It is trying to complete its puzzle, even if the pieces hurt to fit. The person you cannot forget is often the one who held the key to something unfinished in you. They may have carried your forgotten anger. They may have embodied your silenced desire. They may have loved the parts of you you've never dared to love yourself. And when they leave, they don't just take themselves, they take the reflection, and you are left face to face with the absence, not just of them, but of what they once reflected in you. This is why heartbreak cuts deeper than logic allows, because it's not just a person you lose. It's a version of yourself that only ever came alive in their presence. But perhaps that was the point all along, not to keep them, not to hold on, but to awaken something that now must be owned by you alone. And so, the unconscious moves again, searching, seeking, spiraling, not out of desperation, but out of an ancient hunger for balance. It will call more people into your life, some soft, some sharp, some that heal, some that break. All of them mirrors, all of them messengers, and as long as you remain unconscious of this process, you will be pulled without understanding. You will call it fate, or chaos, or love, but you will not see the pattern. But the moment you begin to ask, what part of me is drawn to this? What am I being shown? What is my soul trying to remember through this person? Then you are no longer a victim of the pull. You become a participant in your own becoming. Because the unconscious does not seek others to escape itself. It seeks others to complete itself. And the moment you stop chasing people and start decoding your attractions, a veil lifts. There is a part of you that you do not show. Not to your friends, not to your lover, sometimes not even to yourself. It is the part that holds the anger you never expressed, the envy you buried under politeness, the grief you never made room for, the desires you were taught to suppress, the chaos you pretend doesn't exist inside your calm exterior. This is your shadow, and no matter how fast you run from it, no matter how carefully you curate your image, it walks beside you silently, faithfully, like a ghost chained to your soul. You may ignore it, you may hate it, you may project it onto others, but you cannot escape it. And here is the truth you must learn if you ever wish to love and be loved. Until you make peace with your shadow, love will never feel safe. Because love, when it arrives, does not just see your light, it sees all of you. And if you have not made peace with what lies beneath, that love will feel like a threat. You will push it away. You will sabotage it. You will find flaws in the other person, not because they are broken, but because they reflect something unresolved in you. You will feel exposed, vulnerable, unsafe, not because love is dangerous, but because your inner world has not yet become a safe place for your own truth. The shadow is not evil. It is simply unacknowledged. It is the emotional residue of everything you were told not to be. Too much, too emotional, too ambitious, too sensitive, too angry. So you pushed it down and built your persona on top of the ruins. But love does not love your persona. It loves what is behind it. It wants the real you, the whole you, and when someone comes close enough to see past your mask, the shadow begins to stir. It panics. It says if they see this, they will leave. And so you hide, or you attack, or you withdraw, not because you don't want love, but because you do and you're terrified of what it might see. This is why relationships crack open the psyche in ways nothing else can. They are not just emotional experiences, they are psychological initiations. They take you down into the caverns of your own mind, forcing you to face what you've locked away: jealousy, insecurity, control, shame, fear of abandonment, fear of engulfment. These things do not appear because love is wrong. They appear because love is the light, and light reveals what was hidden. But the greatest tragedy is not that we have shadows. It is that we believe we must hide them to be loved, so we perform, we pretend, we filter, we show the parts that feel acceptable and censor the rest, and in doing so, we build relationships on a foundation of half-truths and masked pain. But real love, enduring love, cannot grow in a soil of denial. It demands honesty. It demands inner excavation. It asks, can you hold space for your own darkness, so that you may not fear it in another? Because here is the deepest truth. What you cannot accept in yourself, you will eventually resent in someone else. And what you have rejected in yourself, you will unconsciously seek in others, only to punish them for carrying it. This is the cycle. This is the loop of unconscious love, and the only way out is in. You must descend. You must enter the cave where your shadow lives. You must sit with it, not to destroy it, not to judge it, but to understand it. Because every part of you that you hide has a story, and love, real love, asks for the whole story. The rage was once your protection. The jealousy was once your cry to be seen. The control was born from a childhood where nothing felt safe. The silence was the only thing that kept you from breaking. These parts are not your enemy. They are your abandoned children, and they are waiting for you to come back. And until you do, love will always feel temporary, always out of reach, always slipping through your fingers the moment it gets too close. But the moment you stop running from yourself, something shifts. The shadow begins to soften. It no longer needs to sabotage love. Because it has been seen, it has been heard, it has been held, and in that moment, there is a longing within every human soul, a longing to be met, to be seen, to be held not just physically, but existentially. We do not merely seek a lover, we seek a witness to our becoming, but before two souls can ever truly meet, each must first find itself. This is the forgotten path of individuation, the sacred journey inward, where the self is not sculpted by the world, but unearthed from within. It is the process of becoming whole, not perfect, not complete in the worldly sense, but authentically entire in your psychic structure, known to yourself, centered in your own being, no longer just a reflection of others' needs or society's expectations. Most people try to merge before they individuate. They try to create we before they've met I. And so what they build is not union, it is entanglement, not love, but dependency in disguise. They offer not themselves, but fragments, masks, echoes, and then wonder why the connection collapses under the weight of unmet needs. But real union, real, enduring intimacy, cannot be built from fragmentation. You cannot meet another if you have not yet met yourself. Individuation is not selfish, it is not isolation. It is the prerequisite for sacred union, because only when you have stood alone, truly alone, do you become capable of standing with someone without losing yourself. This journey inward is not glamorous. It is not loud. It often begins in grief, in confusion, in a deep dissatisfaction with what the world says should make you happy. It is born from the ache of realizing you have lived for everyone but yourself. And so the soul begins to rebel. It starts to pull away from imitation. It starts to break down false selves. It begins to whisper, "There is more to you than this." You begin to withdraw projections. You stop expecting others to rescue you. You stop chasing love as salvation, and instead turn toward the trembling child within, the one you abandoned in order to be accepted, the one you silenced in order to be successful. And as you begin to listen, something profound begins to happen. The noise of the outer world fades. The opinions of others lose their grip. And for the first time, you begin to live from within. You meet your archetypes. You confront your shadow. You recognize the anima, the animus, the trickster, the wounded healer, all parts of your psychic totality, waiting to be integrated. This is not the kind of work you can do in public. It is quiet, private, often painful, because to individuate is to die to the false self again and again until only what is true remains. And when you emerge from that fire, charred, humbled, but unmistakably yourself, you no longer seek a partner to complete you. You seek a partner who reflects what you have already become. Now, love is no longer a remedy. It is a recognition, no longer a need, but a gift. You are not looking for someone to hold you together. You are looking for someone whose presence allows you to unfold even more. But most of the world is too impatient for individuation. They rush toward romance like a fix. They skip the inner work and dive into connection, only to drown in their own unconscious needs. They want passion without inner clarity, union without the container of selfhood. And so, again and again, they experience collapse, abandonment, confusion, because they have not yet learned this sacred principle. Union is only as strong as the selves that form it. To love is to offer yourself, but if you have no self, what are you truly offering? The person who has individuated does not demand love. They invite it, not as a means to fill a void, but as a mirror to share their fullness. They no longer fear solitude, for they have become their own sanctuary. And from that place of inner stability, they are able to meet another, not to merge, but to dance, not to possess, but to witness, not to rescue or be rescued, but to walk side by side as sovereign souls. And in this space, all your life, you have been told to look outward, toward the horizon, toward the future, toward lovers, toward mentors, toward achievements, as if the answers to your restlessness lie somewhere just beyond reach. And so you search, you chase after love, hoping someone else will give you back the parts you lost. You chase after success, believing that if you can just earn enough, become enough, prove enough, you will finally feel worthy. You chase after beauty, validation, knowledge, even spiritual highs, all in the name of one unspoken ache, to remember who you are. But here is the paradox you were never taught to understand. What you seek has never been outside you, not for a single moment. It has only been buried, beneath noise, beneath trauma, beneath conditioning, beneath the stories you inherited without ever questioning them. The peace you long for is not in a place. It is in a remembering. The love you hunger for is not in a person. It is in a reunion with the sacred within. The purpose you ache to discover is not in a career. It is in your becoming. You are not incomplete. You are forgotten. You were taught to forget, taught to trade wonder for conformity, taught to trade intuition for approval, taught to seek light only outside, and to fear the vast, unexplored wilderness within. But the psyche cannot be silenced forever. There comes a time, sometimes in crisis, sometimes in quiet sorrow, when something stirs beneath the surface, a whisper, a question, a soft rebellion, and it says, there must be more than this. That voice is the beginning. It is the soul remembering that it once knew its own name, that it once walked in truth, that it once danced not to impress, but to feel, that it once loved not to be chosen, but because it overflowed. The external world can offer reflections, but never origins. It can show you glimpses of your own light in the eyes of another, but the source of that light, it lives within you, it always has. You do not need to become someone else. You need to return to yourself. This is the great spiritual inversion, not to ascend away from your humanity, but to descend into the core of it, not to escape, but to embody, not to reach out, but to turn inward with reverence and curiosity, asking, what have I abandoned in myself in order to be loved? What gifts have I buried beneath shame? What truths have I traded for belonging? The answers do not come quickly. They do not come loudly. They come like wild animals, slow to trust, hiding in the forest of your inner world. But if you are patient, if you are gentle, they begin to show themselves, the child you silenced, the dream you abandoned, the power you denied because the world told you it was too much. They rise again, not to punish you, but to rejoin you, to remind you that you were never missing, just masked. And the moment you begin to live from this reawakened place, something remarkable begins to happen. The seeking loses its desperation. Love becomes resonance, not rescue. Success becomes expression, not validation. Spirituality becomes embodiment, not escape, because now you know the truth. What you were chasing was never out there. It was always you, your own soul, disguised in 1,000 forms, waiting for you to turn around and look inward. And as you do,